Hey team, today we're going to talk about tracking and how to track your business. I made a huge mistake in the beginning and for way too long after that where I was not tracking what I was doing. I thought I could just rely on good old Facebook Messenger because it saves all of your conversations as a way to track who I was talking to and how the conversation went, what they said, what they're up to, what they like, what they don't like, blah, blah, blah. No, not a good idea. I have wasted so much time scrolling through my messenger to go back and remind myself what we talked about, what their goals are, how I can help them, or what their objections were, and how I can maybe invite them to a new challenge group, see if they're ready at this point in time or whatever. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how to track from day one and how to follow up based on how you're tracking your customers and potential customers so that nobody falls through the cracks. I have to admit that I just started like legit tracking, and it makes a world of difference. There are people that you'll talk to, they're kind of on the fence, and I wasn't writing their names down like I should have been, and so they would get forgotten. And then I would come across them on Facebook or in conversation, or randomly maybe I'd get lucky and they'd pop in my head again. I'd be like, oh shoot, I need to reach out to that person again and see where they're at and see if they're ready to jump in my challenge group or see if they're still considering the coaching opportunity. So I would reach out to them, and a lot of times they'd say yes. And the funny thing is, had I just written their names down and had more of a system from the beginning, it would have happened a lot sooner for some of these people, and it would have caused me a lot less grief and frustration and worry and whatever. So I want you to do a better job than I have with that. So I'm going to give you some tips on what I do now and how it's helping me tremendously in my business. So in the beginning, it's easy to think that you don't need to track because it's so new. You're just now starting to expand your network. You just started talking to people. So in the beginning, it's easy to remember who you've talked to. You're working in your warm market right now, so family and friends, and you're so excited about what you're doing, so you're sharing with a lot of people, but it's probably people that you know. So that's a lot easier to keep track of. I remember thinking, I don't need to write down that I just sold a challenge pack to my best friend. I'll remember that, no big deal. Or I don't need to write down that I just talked to my grandma about Shakeology because she's my grandma and I'll remember. But it's going to blow up beyond that. And if you're doing the things that we're teaching you every day to do to grow your business every day, every week, every month, then you need to have a system on how you're keeping track of all of that. From who tells you no, because like I talked about the other day, no's are kind of like not right nows, and you need to go back and ask those people again. In the future, you need to be tracking your customers, your coaches, and everything under the sun. So if that sounds overwhelming, don't let it, because I've got a system for you. I am a pen to paper person. I've found that when I've tried to make an Excel doc and keep all of this on the computer, it took more time for me to do it that way because I'm working from my phone and I'm working from my computer, and I didn't like to jump from screen to screen to screen. So I run most of my business through Facebook. So I like to just be in my little Facebook bubble world and networking and talking to people and messaging, and then just write down within my notebook from there. So that's what works for me. But maybe you're a lot more tech savvy than I am and a lot better with computers than I am, because that's not my forte. So maybe tracking through an Excel document or a Google Doc or something like that would better suit you. So that's up to you. You choose what's best for you. But things that I do that I would consider best practice from day one, don't wait till you're a couple years into the business and feeling like you have to go backtrack, is to get a notebook if you're a pen to paper person, or some sort of document on your computer where you can write down notes. So weekly, I hope you're plugging into the national wake-up calls that are every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I post it in the Faithfully Fit team page Monday morning before it happens every single week. So if you have this notebook that you can take notes from while you're listening to the call, you have one place that all your notes are in all the time. Same with team calls, any hard hitters team calls that you're on, that you're listening to. It's just a nice, easy way to keep all of those notes in one place so they don't go missing. So notebook number one, or on the computer if you'd rather. The other thing I do is I have a planner. I, again, am a pen to paper person. So this year I went with the Passion Planner I'm not trying to advertise for one thing or the other. You can easily pick up one at Target for $10. This was only $30. I like that there's lots of room to write notes, because what I decided to do was to get this planner so that I can write my notes in the same planner as well as where I write down everything else for my business. So this is 100% for my business. Again, that's just what I do, but I recommend some sort of planner with a calendar and a notebook of some sort, whether that is on your phone, an app, computer, or paper. Then what I do is I use this coach tracker, which here it is in paper. You can download it. I have it in the files section of this group, as well as the files section of the Faithfully Fit team group page. And so what I like about this is it gives you a daily action plan, a weekly action plan, and a monthly action plan, so that you can check off what you're doing every day and make sure you're on track moving your business forward with the daily activities, the weekly activities, and then the monthly activities. And I like to see that. I like to be able to check off my work, make sure I'm on track. Beyond that, in the tracker, you will see that I provided for you is also things where you can write down lists, coach prospects, challenge group prospects, free leads. We'll get into what that means pretty soon in the group, but you will want to be keeping track of the free customers that you will get from Beachbody. A contact list, just people that you've been talking to. To me, that's the most important list of names that I have. Who have I been talking to? What have they been saying? Where are they at in life? Are they telling me that they're so busy right now and they're so overwhelmed with everything they already have on their plate, they cannot imagine working out every day? Okay, you want to write that down. You want to be an encourager to them. You're not looking at it like, I just can't wait to sell them something. You're looking at it like, how can I add value to this person who seems overwhelmed in the conversation that we already have? Because you know what? I'm overwhelmed in my daily life. And that's something that I can use to hopefully help that person and help them see that they can find that time, and help them find it by encouraging them and sharing how you found that time in your busy schedule. So keep track of those names and a little bit about how the conversation went, so that you know realistically when's a good idea to follow up with them. I get a lot of questions about when should I follow up? The next day, the next week, the next month. It really depends on how the conversation goes. I don't have a one size fits all, this is the time you should wait to follow up with somebody. A lot of times it's person specific. So really think about what they said. You really need to be a good listener. You're not just there to shoot out information to people and again, you're not trying to just convince people of things. You're trying to add value to people's lives and help them better their health. So with that, you need to listen to what they're telling you. If they say, no, not right now, and they don't give you a reason, then I normally wait at about a month or maybe 2, and then I go back and say, hey, I know we talked about this a little bit ago and you weren't quite ready. I just wanted to let you know I have a new challenge group starting up, and I wanted to know if now is a better time for you. If somebody has a price objection, you can kind of ask more questions and figure out if down the road it would work better. And then you kind of have a better idea when to check back in with them. So that's another thing that I track. I'll write down their name. I'll write down a little bit about how the conversation went, what their goals are, how I could help them. And then I write down when I think would be a good time to follow up based on whatever they said. Another thing that comes in the coach tracker that you can download is called a coach tracker. And what it is for all your new coaches, so that you can keep track of how to get them started right, which is another thing we're going to talk about in this bootcamp. So I'm not going to get too much into that today. There's also a nice little pretty list for the any coach opportunity events that you invite to. So the third week of every month, the third Monday, I'm going to host a 1-day sneak peek into coaching, what we do as coaches. And I'll remind you every month that you can invite to that. So if you invite people and they say, yeah, I want to hear more about what you're doing as a coach, then you can use this little tracker to write down their names, and it gives you nice little check boxes to see kind of what they said after you follow up with them after the sneak peek, and so on and so forth. Just a good way to keep track of people. There's been a lot of times, even with tracking people that I've added to sneak peeks, where I followed up with them and I don't hear anything. And it kind of makes you go, ooh, I don't want to bug that person. And I don't want you to bug that person, but I want you to write their name down. So down the road, you can revisit it, because maybe it wasn't a good fit for them in their life right then, but you planted that seed. And so you don't want to forget about that person. You want to water that seed, continue to reach out to them just as a human being, not just as a coach, and see if maybe down the road, the opportunity will work for them better later. Another thing it comes with is a way to track your challengers. And that's super helpful, so that when you run a challenge group, you can talk about the details of the challenge group, write those down, what it's called, what the goals were for each individual person, and then are they actually checking in, and so on and so forth, so that you can better serve your challengers. Now, again, if this seems really overwhelming and you're not a paper person, then don't download the tracker. I want you to find what works best for you. But the key is finding your system and finding it now as you start. If that means in the most simple way of a plain notebook and you're just writing down names and little notes, that's perfect. I know a lot of coaches that have done that. But whatever it is, start tracking the people that you're talking to, even friends and family. And going forward, if you are doing your power hour and reaching out to multiple people, then say you have a month that feels a little bit slow and it was a little bit difficult to meet your Success Club goals, well, you have all those people that you can follow up with the next month, and potentially by then they've already been following you and watching you and have learned to trust you and what you have to offer, and maybe they'll be ready next month. That is huge. There is fortune in the follow-up. I can't tell you how often I actually hear yes the very first time I ask somebody. And that's why you really have to believe in this system that I'm teaching you about inviting every single day, and trust the process. I just heard from Melanie Mitro, the top coach the last 2 years, about trusting the process. As you get further in the business, you get to a point where you're like, I don't even know how I can keep doing this in a way, because you feel like you've already talked to so many people. But we already talked about your power hour and what that means. And if you do your power hour consistently, I am proof that it works, because down the road, you will find that somebody you talked to 6 months ago now decided that they're ready to join you or whatever. I know I'm talking way in the future. I tend to do that. But I'm just trying to paint an overall picture that this process works. I've learned it from top coaches, and you really need to be consistent with it every single day. And with that comes consistency in your tracking, so that you know where you're at in your business and where you're going. So I hope that was helpful today. And if you have any questions about other ideas on how to track, just let me know, or other tracker downloads that I have or something like that. If you don't like the format of the one I provided, just let me know. I'd love to I just want to get you started right with that. And also, I provided a link to a call that Kelly Jimenez did over a year ago, where she talked specifically about how she tracks her business, because she was a little bit smarter than I was and tracked from the beginning. So I provided that link in the text for today. So it's a little bit longer. It's about a 30-minute call. So when you have time, you can check that out if you'd like. And get tracking, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow.